Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Reversing Hashimoto Show. I'm your show host, Dr. Anshul Gupta. I help people reverse their Hashimoto disease by making functional medicine plans. And today with us is lovely Miss Dorinda Smith. Hello, welcome over here.
Hi, thank you.
And before we go into the discussion, I would like to introduce you first so people know what an awesome person you are. So, Miss Dorinda Smith, which we call as Miss Dori, is the autoimmune geek on social media. She's an autoimmune disease research scientist who wound up actually getting her own set of autoimmune diseases. And she has an awesome healing story to tell, which we are going to go into just in a second. Ms. Dori earned her master's in immunology and environmental toxicology. She continued her PhD education in immunology and autoimmunity at North Carolina State. She completed her PhD research in autoimmunity with Duke University and completed a prestigious fellowship in autoimmunity with the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. In 2017, she founded True Wellness Today LLC, a holistic health and wellness practice and Christian based mission specializing in difficult to reverse cases. With Dori's unique background in molecular biochemistry, immunology, and toxicology, she has been given the gift as a true medical detective, and her clients' transforming results speak for themselves. She's a tenacious at using the latest science to find and correct the underlying root cause of inflammation and disease. Dori, welcome over here again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That's great. You have a great story to tell. I've heard about it before, but I think our listeners will love to listen your story about dealing with all of these autoimmune conditions and get some hope that they can get better. So please, if you don't mind sharing your story, please tell us that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the number one reason why I'm alive today. I know that to be true is so that I can really share the new science that we have nowadays with people and really help them to have hope because there truly is so much more that we can do, right? And I'm just one walking living example of this, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of people just like me out there. So I want to start by telling you that if your doctor says you're incurable, don't believe it. Okay. There is so much more that you can do. So, in my own personal story, I was one of those, typical high achieving women. I was doing my master's and my PhD, and I'm working in the lab at the same time, and I'm raising a child, and I'm a wife, and, I'm doing all these things, right? And I started having multiple different really weird symptoms all over my body. Went to this specialist, went to that specialist, right? Everybody diagnosed one little thing over here, one little thing over there, but nobody really put it all together. And even me, and I'm studying at the highest level in autoimmune disease, and it was like I couldn't see the forest for the trees, right? I couldn't see all these things coming together, and maybe I didn't want to see it. Maybe I thought, oh, that's an impossibility. But truth be known, I had really been kind of growing my own autoimmune disease in my body since I was a teenager and just didn't know it, right? That inflammation was building and building and building. And so, with all the stress of my career and everything that was going on in my life, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, as it is for many people with autoimmune disease. And I finally got my first diagnosis, which was scleroderma with severe fibromyalgia. And it really is kind of a nightmare story because it totally progressed so fast. Like every time I turned around, there was some other big symptom happening, with my gut health and my brain health and just all over my body, the aches and pains, the traveling pains, the muscle aches, the extreme fatigue. The fatigue was overwhelming. The brain fog, just all these different things. And going back to the doctor over and over again, I kept getting more and more autoimmune diagnoses. So it was scleroderma, it was severe fibromyalgia, it was Hashimoto's, it was fatty liver disease, it was polymyalgia. Then they thought I had lupus. Then I had Addison's disease. I mean, it was like just, okay, one thing right after the other. And I basically lost my career. I had to go out on disability and couldn't work anymore. And of course, I believed everything that I was taught, right? And I was taught that I was incurable, right? That really my only hope was to take my pharmaceuticals, which by the time I was done, I was on a cocktail of anywhere between 12 and 20 different medications every single day, right?
Wow.
No one ever talked to me about, the polypharmacy and how so many different medications in your body, and what are they doing? There's no studies on that, right?
Mhm.
Um, but it was so difficult. And during that time, here I am, I'm this high performing woman, right? Type A all the way. And here I was stuck in my bed, right? I couldn't do much. I could barely get up and clean the house, I mean, the emotional toll that chronic illness takes on a person, I think, is the very worst part than all of the physical symptoms.
No, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
this is the
But
story that a lot of our Hashimoto's clients are going through. A lot of these symptoms, that you're going through, and a lot of them have been diagnosed with more than one autoimmune condition, and you had seven of those. So I'm actually excited to hear the next part of how you actually got out of this situation.
yeah, well, I really languished for a long time. And, I had one doctor tell me, well, you probably only have 10 years to live. Another doctor just kind of flippantly said to me one day, well, you might have 20 if you're lucky, right? This is the way doctors talk to you, right? And it was terrible. But so I languished for literally about 14 years. And then one day I was in the middle of a really, really bad flare. And I was, really thinking, well, they told me I only had 10 years. I'm at year 14. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the end. Right. And I was really afraid of that because I'm a very strong Christian, so I'm not afraid to go to heaven and meet my maker. I'm actually, looking forward to that someday. But the worst part about that was I was leaving my granddaughter, and due to a family tragedy, I was raising her by myself. And, she wasn't yet grown. I mean, what was she going to do? There really wasn't anyone else in the family to take care of her. So that was really, my biggest fear, is that I would be leaving her. But I was just deathly afraid. And I actually collapsed on the floor. And I cried out to the Lord. I said, oh my gosh, please, don't take me right now. I got to be here to take care of Jana. I'm a scientist, for crying out loud. Please, if there's anything else that I need to know, please show me. And he literally did answer my prayer. And after a little while, I was able to get back up into my bed. And there was a YouTube video on the TV, and it said scleroderma and functional medicine. And I went, well, that's ridiculous, right? Right. Here's this arrogant scientist thinking that the only way to help people is with, you know, pharmaceutically driven means,
Mhm.
right? And not that it's all bad, because it's not, okay. But there are other ways, and there's a lot of science out there that we're not taught in typical conventional training, right? And so I finally did watch that video, and then I realized that, wow, there was a lot of peer-reviewed science in that video. And so I started doing my own, little meta-analysis from my bed, and it took me a couple of months, but I put together all the science that's really out there in the world, not just what I was taught. right? But all the science that's out there. And I started seeing that, wow, there is so much more out there. There is so much more that we can do. And it's not woo woo, it's real science. It just hasn't come down the pike yet so that your regular doctors are practicing it, right? But it's just precision root cause science where you're going deeper and you're looking at all the underlying real reasons for why you become sick in the first place, the things that cause the inflammation in the first place. And so that's what I started doing. Very long story short, it took me about 2 years. It was not a quick fix. And there was a lot of things about my life that I really did need to change, right? I had to go through different protocols and, really, do some good work, right? Um, but I got better and better. And the bottom line is that I am no longer on any medications. It's been 6 years. I'm not going back to being that sick person again. Basically, all of my autoimmune biomarkers went back down to normal. My own rheumatologist said that she could no longer diagnose me with even one autoimmune disease today, right? And I lost 100 pounds, right? I mean, so many different things changed, right? I'm no longer in pain. I have more energy than my 35-year-old friends, and I just turned 60, right? And so, it's just amazing. It's just amazing what the body can do if you just remove the impediments and help to give your cells everything that they need to do their job, right? And work on your stress, right? Because stress is a part of it too. Then you can really achieve amazing things with your health.
Absolutely. I think that's such a powerful story and a powerful message out here that autoimmune conditions can be reversed. It's not a death sentence. One was given to you several years ago, but you certainly beat that sentence, and not only beating it by medications, by doing it through a natural approach. You're not on any medications and you are thriving well. So this is a very important statement that everybody should understand, because a lot of people have been told that nothing can be done to save their Hashimoto's, nothing can be done to kind of improve their symptoms. But there is so much more, as you correctly pointed out. If you do the right things, if you find your root causes, then you can certainly nail it down. So thank you for sharing this message. And so congratulations on you for doing this on yourself and helping so many more around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what it's all about, and I honestly believe that's my whole purpose. And it was my whole purpose for going through the suffering to begin with, right? I look at this as a very spiritual thing that, I believe very strongly that the Lord gave me my intelligence and my knowledge and the training in the first place. And then he allowed me to go through, really the intense suffering of having to lose my career and, and having to go through all of the, the suffering that you go through as a person when you are chronically ill, right? But then he also showed me how to come out on the other side so that I can help other people. And so, that's really my whole purpose for living, I think, right? Is just to help other people to know that you're not stuck in this. There is so much you can do if you're willing to make the changes. Right now, I can't sit around and eat ice cream and M&Ms all the time anymore, like I used to. Right? I had to
Absolutely.
give up. Yeah, I had to give up the things that are truly making me sick in the first place, the sugar, the chemicals, the processed foods. But it's not just about foods. I had to do things that actually moved toxins out of my body. I had to look at my genetics. I had to learn how to live according to my personal genetics,
Right.
right?
So I think let's move into this directly, because I think you're sharing very important points over here, but I want to capture the whole essence of things. So you have this kind of model that you have developed, right? The genius disease model, which is kind of a key to major autoimmune conditions and all the diseases out there. So share with us a little bit more about that model so everybody's aware of it.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's not my model, right? This is just a combination of what we know scientifically to be true today. And of course, science is always changing. We're always learning new things. Every single month, new things come out. But the bottom line, to make it easy for people to understand, is there's really three main reasons why a person becomes sick. Okay. And those three main reasons are the things that are causing your chronic inflammation. And if you forget anything that I say today, know that your number one job in order to help your health is to remove anything that's causing chronic inflammation in your body. That's number one, right? And then there's three main categories of things that you need to work on to remove that chronic inflammation. And the number one thing is toxicities. Toxicities are huge. Okay. And they come in so many ways. They come in on our food. They come in when your gut health gets compromised and now you have overgrowths of certain potential pathogenic bacteria or virus or parasites, right? They come in on things like if you contract Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme disease or any of the co-infections that come with Lyme disease, right? In my particular case, I had a latent active mycoplasma infection, which is kind of a cross between a virus and a bacteria. It's just kind of a weird little entity. But that had been in my body, we determined, since I was a teenager. And so a lot of my symptoms that developed when I was a teenager that we just chalked up to, well, your mom and grandma have anxiety too, so therefore you're going to be a little more anxious. Or, your mom had migraines, so therefore you're going to have migraines too. What we now know is that really there were underlying what we call invisible infections that were creating toxins, right, that were causing my chronic inflammation, which led to my symptoms and eventual disease, right? So toxins is the big one, right? That we need to do our root cause testing so we can find all the different toxins. And we've got awesome science available today. Tests that normal doctors don't even use, right? That we can actually identify your root causes in the area of toxins. And then once we find them, we can work on those very specifically, very precisely, and move those toxins out of your body. So then your own immune system, your own intelligent immune system can heal you. And that's what it's created to do. And it does if you just get the junk out of the way. So that's number one. Okay. Number two is your cellular deficiencies. So, I've never worked with a person who didn't have, pretty bad cellular deficiencies. It seems that most people nowadays are walking around with deficiencies within their cells, things, certain biochemicals, certain nutrients, even oxygen and water, right? That people are just missing. They just don't have enough of it. And then it's no wonder we become sick. It's no wonder we're tired, right? Because we just don't have everything that we need. And I always tell people, like, say you decided to build a house, but you don't have enough nails and you don't have enough wood and you don't have enough cement and you don't have enough plaster, right? How are you going to make a stable house? Well, obviously you're not. And it's no different with your cells, right? And, one thing I was told when I was sick, I went to my doctor because I started, hearing things about nutrition. And I'm like, what about nutrition? It seems that our cells need things, right? And my rheumatologist at the time actually said to me, oh, Dori, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Just eat what you want. You're sick. Just eat what you want. And she was wrong. And she didn't, of course, she's a wonderful woman. She didn't realize she was wrong. She just wasn't taught. And when you really think about it, how are you supposed to be a healthy human being if you don't have enough of all the different things that your cells need to do your job, right? And it's just,
Right.
it's logic. It's logic, right? But doctors aren't taught this, and so they don't work with this, right? And so
But let me pause you over
making sure,
here because this question comes to with my audience a lot, as we're talking about this topic. A lot of people are eating healthy diets, right? So they have this question, well, why am I still deficient or I am not deficient into these things? So I would like to
yeah,
know your take on it. And then the second part of this question would be, what is the best way to diagnose these cellular deficiencies? Because the regular tests, as you know, do not show these things. So if you can answer both of these questions for us.
that's right, absolutely. Well, first things first is that it's not all about the cellular deficiencies, okay? It's also about the toxins that are impeding your ability to absorb things, right? And so everybody's got toxins, right? And most people with, most people who develop a severe autoimmune disease, we tend to genetically not get rid of our toxins as well as other people. And those toxins create problems with our gut health so that now we can't absorb and we can't digest our foods properly. And the most important thing is that we get nutrients down to the cellular level, because that's where the nutrients are doing their work. They've got to cross the cellular membrane, they've got to get in there, they've got to do their work, right? And then the cells spit out metabolites if the work has been done or not, right? And so people come to me to finish answering the first part of the question. People come to me and they say, yeah, well, I eat a really healthy diet. I'm like, yeah, but have you ever identified the different toxins? Have you ever identified, the exact health of your gut and whether you're actually absorbing that food or not, whether it's actually getting to the cellular level? And of course, they're like, what? Like they have no clue what I'm talking about, right? And so, one of the first tests that I love to do in just about every client is a good organic acids and micronutrient test, because an organic acids is like the gold standard of the latest science right now. We can actually determine whether those nutrients are getting into the cell and doing their work or not, right? And
Mhm.
so once you get a test like that, then it's black and white and people's eyes are just, right? They realize, oh my gosh, no wonder I feel so tired, or no wonder I feel this pain, or no wonder I have nerve issues throughout my body. Look at my B vitamins are crashed, and I don't have enough antioxidants, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, right? My vitamin D is at 10, right? Mine was actually at 9 when I first
Wow.
started healing. My
Yes.
vitamin D was at 9. I
And that's so
mean,
crazy thing because
and
a lot of people come to see me every day, like they do see to you also. And they said, my regular doctor has done a lot of blood work. Everything is normal for me. I don't have these vitamins and minerals which are low. And they don't know
yeah.
that these organic tests, which are functional medicine tests, can actually show your cellular level of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and things. A very important point that people should be coming across is that a lot of conventional doctors are not taught, that these organic tests or these advanced tests are available. So I'm glad, that you brought this point up and you're doing these testing for your clients so that you can draw the true nature of the deficiencies.
Yeah, and it's like I have a mentoring platform, and we mentor other doctors and nurse practitioners in how to run these tests, because we really are in the evolution of medicine right now. We're in this 17-year time lag, and where the new science is available but doctors aren't using it yet, and in the meantime people are dying and people are suffering and people are losing their ability to be productive in life during this time, where while the evolution of medicine is occurring and we're waiting for the science to really get down to the doctors so that then it can get to the people who need it. And you know, what I'm doing every day is getting up on my platform and telling people, don't wait. Okay, don't wait for your doctor to learn how to do this. I mean, we do that in our mentoring program. We're teaching doctors how to do this, but it's a lot of work. I mean, it takes your average doctor about 6 months to learn how to read these tests and then be able to apply them in their practice. And when you consider that most doctors really only have 10 or 15 minutes with you, according to their insurance model that controls everything, right? And they don't have enough time to go over a full organic acids test with you. I mean, there's at least 50 things on there that we can
Right.
find wrong, right? And that we can fix, you know? And so it's, you know, it's just a lot of work, and it's a completely different way of helping people to get better,
Mhm.
right? And so doctors just aren't trained in that. And thank God, you know, we're seeing on average like maybe 20% of doctors are starting to really come into these new functional medicine programs, root cause precision programs, right? And they're learning, they know that they will want to help people more. You know, they know that, you know, they're just allowing their patients to languish if they're just feeding them pharmaceuticals all day long, right? They know that there's a better way, and they're learning, right? So we're
Great.
getting there. We're getting there.
Absolutely. Great, great. So let's continue your three steps. So one was obviously looking at toxins. The second was looking at deficiencies. What is the third one?
Yeah, the third one is stress psychology. And, you know, this is a big one because, and especially women, so many women go to the doctor and their doctor runs all the tests. And the doctor says, well, you know, sorry, all your tests are normal. So therefore, maybe you're just stressed. Maybe here, you know, have a Prozac, have a Xanax, right? Or, you know, they start thinking, maybe you're just a hypochondriac. Maybe you really don't have all these symptoms that you say you're having, right? And I hear this every day. I heard this myself as a patient, right? Even though I was a specialist myself, right? I still got that same, maybe there's just something psychologically wrong with you. Maybe you're really not as sick as you think you are, right? And so I want to speak to this very specifically. If you've heard this, please throw it in the trash, okay? Your body is talking to you, your body is communicating to you, and you are listening to your body, even if your doctor is not. It's not their fault, it's the way they're trained, right? But you need to come to people who are listening to you, who are understanding, who've been in your shoes, right? And yes, the stress is a part of it. Now, there are literally thousands of scientific studies that prove that you can literally increase your chronic inflammation or decrease your chronic inflammation within moments just by what you're thinking, just by the things that you're focusing on, right? And so if you're more anxiety driven, and of course you are when you're in the middle of chronic health conditions, of course you're scared by these symptoms that pop up all over the place every day, right? So it's perfectly normal to feel that anxiety. But if you're working with someone who can really understand and help you to get to those root causes, that starts to take the anxiety away, because then you're no longer wondering, oh my gosh, am I incurable? Am I going to die? What's happening? Am I going to be able to take care of my family? Am I just going to get worse? Right? You really don't have to think that way anymore when we start finding all these root causes, right? And that helps you to come into a place of less anxiety, right? You can really get busy. You can be the CEO of your own health, and you can focus on addressing the specific root causes. And then as your body starts to release your symptoms and you have less pain, you have more energy, you have less brain fog, you're really starting to notice that you can do more. That's going to help to alleviate your stress, right? And so like right now, when you're sick, you're really kind of in this catch-22, going in the wrong direction, going in a very negative direction, right? Because of your symptoms, and then your fear over your symptoms and your worry and concern, right? But if you start finding your root causes, now you're going to start that ball rolling. You're going to start that catch-22 in the positive direction, right? And then you're going to start it. Oh, now I'm getting a little bit better. Now I'm getting a little bit better. Now I'm getting a little bit better, right? And it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. And then you won't have, you know, all that stress anymore, because you're going to know that you can take control of your own health, but also know that you do have to work on that stress part. And many of us, one of the reasons why we come and we are able to develop an autoimmune disease in the first place is because there is a lot of stress in our life, right? There is. Maybe we
Absolutely.
were
You know, like,
raised in ways. Yeah.
right. The modern life itself is so stressful, right? And then I think, the language that we are using in our current culture or in our current society is that, stress is good. Everybody
Mhm.
needs to be in that stressful position to deliver, your highest potential. But you and me know that, any kind of form of stress, can be difficult for your body, especially can trigger a lot of inflammation and can be the root cause of, all these autoimmune conditions. So I'm glad that you are taking the time to listening to your patients and also equipping them with all these stress reduction techniques. I think those are life savior in my clients that I see, and I'm sure you seeing the same thing too.
Yeah, and there's lots of things we can do about our stress, right? There's great therapies out there, right? There's like EMDR therapy is something that I recommend for people a lot, right? And of course, this, look it up, you guys. It's awesome. It's basically coming down from the latest science on brain plasticity and how we can literally change the way our brain reacts to things, right? So if we're normally so used to reacting in a hyper anxiety or depressive way, right, we can actually change that, right? So there's just, again, there are so many things that you can do. You are not stuck in this.
Absolutely. I think EMDR is one of the great therapies. And again, this is the statement that I hear from a lot of my clients. Well, I've already done therapy. So, and nothing has changed, right? But they don't know that, there are several different kinds of therapies and not all therapies are good for everyone. So it's again a trained personnel like you who has seen so many different kinds of patients can help you to pick the right therapy for this particular client, right? As you mentioned, these are EMDR, then there is dynamic neural training, you name it, right? So many different things are there. So I
Yeah.
want to circle
And,
back to actually the first thing about the toxins that you were talking about. So a
sure.
lot of people have these questions. Okay, well, what's the big deal about toxins? Everybody gets exposed to toxins, so why are they related to autoimmune conditions?
Yeah. Well, and what's really interesting is that, and we see this all the time, you can have a person who is genetically sensitive to mold, say. Okay, I'm just using this as an example. Okay, so their genes are susceptible. They don't detox the mold out as well as other people, right? Or they've got certain genes that make it so that those genes react stronger in a disease producing way in the presence of mold mycotoxins. Okay, so these people will say, oh, well, okay, well, me and my husband live in the same house. Well, my husband's not sick. Why am I sick? It obviously doesn't have anything to do with the mold that we see growing underneath the sink, right? But I can do a test and I can look at both the husband and the wife, right? And I can see that, well, in his body, he's not building up mold mycotoxins. In her body, she's building them up and they're getting higher and higher and higher, right?
Mhm.
And it really boils down to our genetics and how well we're able to handle the different toxins that we're exposed to. And another point that I always like to bring up too about toxins is that, everybody, they either minimize it or they freak out about it. right? They think, oh, well, I have to be absolutely perfect and everything has to be completely no toxins whatsoever in my life in order to be healthy. And that's not true either, right? And it's also not true that we can minimize it. The toxins that come in on our food, the toxins that we're exposed to every single day, they cannot be minimized, okay? We know now that babies, brand new babies, are born with over 200 really bad toxins in their bodies. It never used to be that way 100 years ago, right? So things
Mhm.
are changing. We are seeing a lot more of asthma, allergies, ADHD in kids, autism, all these different things that we know now are toxin related, right? And being able to, number one, find, look at your genetics, figure out how to live by your genetics, right? If you're a person who doesn't detox well, then you need to do specific things in your life that help your body to detox better. You have to go over and above to detox your body. And that doesn't mean you just do a cleanse once in a while. It means it's a daily lifestyle practice of making sure you're drinking your water, making sure you're eating the right amount of vegetables, making sure that you're giving your cells what they need and you're correcting all of those cellular deficiencies so that your cells can actually detox you. They can actually do the job, right? And it's not complicated. It's just the way you live your life. You learn how to change. Like one thing that I had to learn how to do very specifically to bring this like right down to the practical level for people is I know that every single morning I have to get up, and after I, run to the restroom, I go straight to the kitchen and I get 32 ounces of water. I put some lemon in it. I put a little bit of Himalayan pink salt in it for the mineral content, and I drink that thing down, right? I don't take all day to sip on 32 ounces of water. I get up first thing in the morning, I get it all into my system, and sometimes I have to stop at, like maybe 20 ounces, take a break for a few minutes, then come back, finish the rest, right? But that water is critical, right? And I play this little game with myself every day that then I fill it back up with another 32 ounces. And before lunchtime, I want to make sure that that is drank as well, right? And then I have a smoothie that I drink every day that has tons of all different kinds of raw vegetables and berries and things, right? So my cells can get what they need every single day. And it's not hard to drink water and make a smoothie, guys. It's really not, right? But maybe it's different than getting up in the morning and making toast with jelly and butter, okay? It's different, but it's great because if I went back to eating the way I used to eat, I'd be sick. I'd be laying around in bed, or maybe I'd be dead by now, probably.
Yeah.
Right. But if I make those positive changes, which are easy to make, right? And I do that instead as a discipline, as a way to love myself, right?
Mhm.
Then, wow, now look at me. Okay. I think it's worth it.
Oh, absolutely, it is. If you're able to reverse your condition and feel good every day in the morning when you wake up, I'm sure everybody would like to do that. And I think that's the best thing about the method that you have described to us. Very simple things. You find out what is wrong with you by doing these tests, and then you start fixing them. And then you see amazing results. So that's such a great message by just doing these things. If you can get your life back, I am sure everybody would like to do that. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing this message, and I'm sure we can go on and on because you have so much knowledge to share. But I think we are coming to the end. So um, before we kind of talk about where people can find you and things, why don't you share any parting words if you have anything for our listeners?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing when you're learning how to heal is to believe that you can. Okay. Because so many people stuck in chronic illness, they've been told that they're incurable. They've been told there's nothing they can do except just take their medications, right? And they believe that they're stuck in that, right? But there really is so much you can do. But you've got to change your mindset. You've got to start learning the new science. You've got to start coming to people like Dr. Gupta and me and all the other great people out there who are practicing the root cause science, right? And you've got to start learning from people like us so that you can actually make those changes to your body. And none of us are saying that you're going to be, oh, perfectly healed, right? I mean, I don't even know that the science is there yet. But hey, you know, if your body can even get 50% better than what it is right now, if it can get 80% better, which is the average of what we see in this kind of work, right? If it can be like me and be 95% better, I'm not even perfect yet, but I'm crushing it, right? And that's what we want for you too. But you got to change your mindset. You got to believe that there is real science out there that can help you, because if you just stay stuck in this place where, well, I've tried everything and nothing works. If you hold on to that very limiting belief, you will stop yourself before you even learn what you can absolutely do with your life. And, you know, I believe that God wants us all to achieve great things, right? And you're special and you've been equipped for very specific work to do in this world. And it's very hard to do that when you're limited by your symptoms, or if you're limited by your own mindset, right? So don't do that, right? Get out there, talk to us, talk to people, learn what you can do, start doing your root cause testing, see what's wrong, start working on it, right? It's better than just sitting around being sick. I'll give you that.
Absolutely. After this message, I am sure people want to work with you or they are looking to find you. So please help us. Tell us where people can find you and how they can work with you.
Sure. So the easiest way is just to go to my website. It's truewellnesstoday.net, not .com. .com was too expensive. so truewellnesstoday.net. And there's a place there for a free discovery call that you can click on the link and you can make an appointment there. And that's really the place to start. And from there, we're going to love you. We're going to take you by the hand and we're going to guide you through this journey of what you need to do in order to really get your life back and transform yourself.
Awesome. Great. We will have all these links in the description. So please take the advantage of this free discovery call. I'm sure that is going to give you so much more value. It is going to be a good starting point for you, so that you can be empowered and you know what the journey lies ahead for you. So thank you again, Dori, for coming over here and sharing all this wisdom and all this knowledge that you have. You're doing amazing work in this world. Thank you so much.
So are you. Thank you. I'm proud to be a part of this team with you.
All right. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.